So long since I've done one of these, I've almost forget which buttons I'm pressing. I'm sorry about the last 2 weeks. So on leave last week and the week before trying to clear the desk, ran out of time. So we're picking up in John 12, sometime after the last video that we did. And we are thinking about, in John's Gospel, the signs of what Jesus has come to do to show us that he is the one through whom we can receive eternal life. That's the motivation for John writing. So let's find out a little bit more. In this, fairly early on in John's Gospel, Jesus has come into Jerusalem. Most of the other Gospels, that's towards the end. But John, it's almost halfway through. Far more time is going to be spent on his last week in Jerusalem leading up to his death than in the other Gospels. So let's hear what he's got to say. Now there were some Greeks among those who went up to worship at the festival. They came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, with a request. Sir, they said, we would like to see Jesus. Jesus has been welcomed in by the crowds. Clearly it's very busy, lots of people milling around. Maybe the disciples are being a little bit defensive to protect Jesus. Maybe it's just in the press people request to speak to Jesus. It's interesting, these are Greeks, they're non-Jews who want to come and see him. What's Philip going to do with their request? Philip went to tell Andrew. Andrew and Philip in turn told Jesus. Jesus replied, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Not the answer perhaps that Andrew and Philip were expecting, or indeed the Greeks. They want to see Jesus, and he says the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. Son of Man is this title from the Old Testament, from the book of Daniel, that Jesus appropriates for himself. It's his most used self-title, and he's speaking about the fact that he's going to be glorified. The time has come through John's Gospel. Do you remember the very first sign? Mary says to him about the wine jars, and he says, my time hasn't come. But now the time has come, the hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified. What does that mean? Very truly I tell you, unless a grain of wheat falls into the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. Anyone who loves their life will lose it, while anyone who hates their life in this world will keep it for eternal life. So he's gone from talking about his time to be glorified, and now he's talking about seeds which have to die in order to bear fruit. The idea that that single seed is placed into the ground and the plant comes up and produces multiple seeds, but without that original seed being planted and as it were dying, you can't get the many seeds. And Jesus says anyone who's going to hang on to their life is going to lose it. But while anyone who in this world hates their life, they're going to keep it for eternal life. There is a self-death necessary for there to be an ongoing fruit. And Jesus is sharing this picture after talking about his hour to be glorified. That doesn't sound like a very glorifying thing, does it? The death of a single seed. What's he going to go on to say? Whoever serves me must follow me, and where I am, my servant also will be. My Father will honour the one who serves me. Now my soul is troubled, and what shall I say? Father, save me from this hour? No. It was for this very reason that I came to this hour. So this self-death for fruitfulness, this hating of life in this world to experience eternal life, and what is this life to be in this world? One who serves Jesus is going to follow him. And in turn the Father will honour those who serve Jesus. And now Jesus, as he thinks about this hour when he's going to be glorified, his soul is troubled. But he doesn't ask for saving from this hour. No, this is the very reason he came. Fascinating that Jesus is preparing for his glorification. It's time for his glory. He's speaking of the trouble he's experiencing in himself as he faces that glory, but recognises it's the hour he's come for. And in the moment of talking about his glory and his fear of that, he's saying those who are going to follow him must be prepared to lay down their lives in order to serve him, and when they do that, the Father will honour them. You can see how all the pieces are constantly being shuffled into place, this pattern that Jesus is building. And then he says, Father, glorify your name. Then a voice came from heaven, I have glorified it and will glorify it again. The crowd that was there and heard it said it had thundered. Others said an angel had spoken to him. Jesus said this voice was for your benefit, not mine. Now is the time for judgment on this world. Now the prince of this world will be driven out, and when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself. So Jesus is talking about his glory, but it's a moment he's fearing, he's troubled about. It's a pattern that's linked to serving him by laying down our lives, this need for the seed to be buried in the ground. He's prayed that God will be glorified, and God has spoken and said, I have glorified it and I will again. And the crowd are thinking, what's going on? Some heard the voice, some heard thunder. And Jesus says that voice was for your benefit. Sorry, the crowd all heard and said it was thundered. What they said, it was an angel who had spoken to him. And Jesus says that voice is for your benefit, not mine. And then he says, now is the time for judgment on this world. Now the prince of the world will be driven out. When I'm lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself. He's pointing to the cross. And as he's lifted up in death, he's going to draw people to himself. And he's also going to defeat the prince of this world. And he's also going to bring judgment on this world. And it's the moment of his glory, and the glory for the Father, but it's the moment of his death. He said this to show the kind of death he was going to die. The crowd spoke up, we have heard from the law that the Messiah will remain forever, so how can you say the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is this Son of Man? Then Jesus told them, you are going to have the light just a little while longer. Walk while you have the light, before darkness overtakes you. Whoever walks in the dark does not know where they are going. Believe in the light while you have the light, so that you may become children of light. When he had finished, Jesus left and hid himself from them. It's a bit enigmatic, isn't it? You're left puzzling a little bit. It's often John's style, actually, as he records the teaching of Jesus, and we're having to tease things out. But the biggest sign, the thing that most glorifies Jesus, is his death on the cross. It's there that the prince of this world is defeated. It's there that judgment is passed on this world. It's through that he's going to draw people to himself. Suffering that leads to glory. Glory in the suffering. And then the call to those who will follow him to lay down their lives. Because to be fruitful requires death, self-death. And this is the teaching of Jesus. And those Greeks who said we want to see Jesus, well, here he is. This is what it looks like. This is what it means. It's a challenge for us today that as we seek glory, and we seek it in the world's agenda, we do not find Christ. And actually when we seek glory in Jesus, we find suffering and a certain amount of strangeness and a call to lay down our lives. And that's a great encouragement to those of us who are suffering. For those of us who aren't ever going to reach the top of the tables and are finding life hard, that it's in that we can find Jesus. And it's through that actually we can live fruitful lives. And there is great hope. We're going to listen to a song now that talks about the voice of Jesus calling us above the voices of the world, and I wonder whether, as you've been reading John's Gospel, you sense that call of Jesus' voice to follow.
My Jesus is mine, who never